Good day, lords and ladies. Welcome back to Citizen Sleeper. In the last episode, we got to know some of the factions of the Eye. It's going to be challenging, not going to lie. The whole situation looks, unsurprisingly, with things always associated with my games, rather bad. So we may be getting into a wee touch of issues. Specifically, we've learnt from our contact here, like we've learned from Peaky, that the issues that the fleet are having shouldn't be caused by the flux. Like, the colonies shouldn't have fallen because of the flux, so other things are happening. We've got a spaceship that's basically, whose colonists are all rather rampant nationalists who refuse to accept any kind of compromise. And you've got a ship that's literally full of people who are willing to sacrifice their own culture for the sake of themselves. So basically, as long as their culture survives, they don't care what the repercussions are. Which is slightly worrying, not going to lie. So, yeah. Let's try and get the dust house shielding done. Fortunately, by doing it this way, we do get some scrap, which is nice. So that's almost done. We can throw the ship mine replacement in. One of the Stinger's crews is looking for a ship mine to replace their flux damaged core. Maybe you can help them acquire one. But there goes a lot of money I will never see again. Okay. So, a little bit of scrap to keep us going. We're not doing too badly. That's coming along. I don't think the merchant ship is back across the Eye yet. So we can't buy any scrap yet, but I will do so in the next turn. Okay. So let's buy some scrap. Which will basically... I want scrap, not ship parts. Dang it. Okay. That's fine. Here we can. I'm going to throw one of my dice in here just because we'll get a bit of money and we'll get our energy back. Which is fine. I'm using basically scrap to maintain myself rather than using the medicine. In the long run, it's not as cost effective, I am aware, but it is also a much easier way to, more profitable way of basically using our dice. Because I don't want to really waste dice if I can help it. We need spores. Okay. The spores are going to be an annoyance, I'm not going to lie. Because to get them, we need to basically go here. Do probably something like this. There we go. So we got the spores. Their thing is still ticking around. Let's get this fixed. Okay. Dust house shielding. So that event is about to tick. And do that. and their story kicks off. As you cross the axis, looking for a shuttle to take you back to the ruined cordon, you spot Petty standing at the edge of the central hub. Something about the way he's leaning against the rail, looking down across the axis and towards the blinking lights of the flotilla beyond makes you pause. He's completely still, his head drooping low and his shoulders hunched over. Approach him. You lean on the rail a little way from Petty, leaving a gap between you. This close, you can see the blank stare in his eyes, the way his hands hang limply in front of him. He takes a minute to notice you. Sleeper, he inhales sharply, still hanging around? Trying to be useful, you say. Petty smiles a tight smile, but doesn't turn to face you. That a sleeper thing, needing to be useful? It's a me thing, you say. It would make sense. Petty closes his eyes. Tools need to be used. What's with you, you say. Petty stands back from the railing. Who invited you, sleeper? Who said you could come here? You think because the Harfers decided to name you their errand boy, we have to put up with you? We don't want you here. We don't need you. His eyes burn with rage. Go home, you stupid machine. A second after he shouts that final line, he collapses on himself, staying upright, but all the energy is going out of his body. He slumps back against the railing, his eyes closed once more. You wait. After a while he speaks. I'm tired, sleeper. Tired of everything. I'm tired of the empty paternalism of Half. I'm tired of the paranoid whining of the crews. I'm tired of the endless cycles that look the same, smell the same, feel the same. I'm tired of running everything, of hiding, of fixing, of every shitty thing that breaks out here. His shout echoes a little in the hub, but few stop to look. He looks down at his feet. I get it, you say. Petty nods. I'm sorry, sleeper, he sighs. Something is, I don't feel okay, just tired. I'm really tired, he sighs. He stands. I'm going to go. He looks at you and sniffs. Get some sleep. Sleep well, you say. He nods slowly, turning away. He raises a hand and drifts away towards the centre of the hub. You turn back to the railing, not wanting to watch him go. Seeing him like this, you prefer not to stare. The traffic of the Axis rumbles on as you watch under an endless shining sun. The same air cycled through all those lungs, the same dust gathering speck by speck on the windows. You take a sharp breath, stand straight and get moving, before the inertia of it all gets to you too. Yeah, so we basically had to put more stuff in. Helping with the tickers, yeah. Access job board, crew socialising. So that costs us money and we get some assistance, and that's just, okay, that's not too bad. And this is a story event. You and Aki stand side by side at the viewing window in silence. The dust swirls and you glimpse the twisted root systems of the steppe silk through the ochre haze. After all of these cycles, you feel a strange connection to a world of which you've never set foot. Aki shifts from foot to foot. She seems restless, eager to speak, but unsure of what to say. Dust House looks good, you say. Aki smiles at you warmly. They do. She pauses and turns back to the window. What is the value of all of this, she asks suddenly, of preserving a world we have left behind? Heritage, history, conservation. The thing is, I come from a historical background, so history is actually an important thing, but heritage is also really important. I think it all ties in, heritage, you say. Aki is silent for a moment. Our practices, our lives require the materials, the patterns that steppe provides, but if those practices remain unchanged while the universe around them shifts, aren't they already dead? She pauses. What is better, to preserve at all costs, or to allow things to be destroyed by change? Aki paces away, lost in thought. I am grateful to you for helping protect the dust houses. for ensuring they slide into decay is delayed, even averted, but now I find myself at an impasse. The stability of the dust houses changes things. It makes me aware of how blinkered we have been. Aki stops to look at you, her posture somehow different. If the ecosystems of the steppe, if its people cannot grow to meet the future, why preserve it? She frowns. Are we just slaves to the preservation of what came before? You can change. I don't understand. Not slaves, but inheritors. The thing with history and culture is that if you lose it, you can never get it back. That is something that, as a study of history, has taught me that those that change without thinking about the past make the same mistakes. There's a very old saying in history which is forward into the past, because basically history constantly repeats itself, and if you do not learn from history, if you don't take care of history, you are bound to make the same mistakes. Let's go with that one. Not slaves, but inheritors. Aki nods, but the weight of this inheritance is heavy. Aki comes close, holds your hands in hers. We must change. You must change to live. She smiles. I have seen that in you. The steppe, these people, this ship, should serve more than heritage, than history. They should serve the future. She takes a breath. There are those in the flotilla that need clothes, they need food, they can benefit from the gifts of the steppe's ecosystem. I want you to invite them. Can you do that for me? Of course, you say. I know that Sol sent you, she smiles. You can tell him Aki, captain of the Wind's long shadow, invites all the people of the flotilla to come. Captain? She smiles. You never asked. Aki steps away. You want to know about the flux, no? About its purpose, its origin, she smiles. You wish to protect your home as we could not. I'm afraid I don't have much to tell you. It is an exotic wave of sorts, an energy that passes through matter. It shifts the very charged particles which run through our electrical systems. It is possible to shield against it as you would radiation, as we have done with the dust houses, but only while it is weak. The flux vent here was much like the first one we felt on Ember's steppe, localized, destructive but bearable. But in time its strength grew. I don't know if it will be the same here, but she pauses. If it comes from the center of the system, from the close orbit of Helion's star H1, that is all we could uncover. She is silent for a moment, unsure of what to add. I am sorry I can't offer more, but you are always welcome on this ship, she smiles. I hope I will see you when the others come. She squeezes both your hands. I hope this ship, these dust houses, can be more than a museum. I hope they can be a home. With this, she turns and leaves, and you feel the words home resonating within you like a struck bell. See, this is one of the challenges that heritage conservation and history preservation have, is that you try and aim for living history, like making your history and heritage a daily part of life so that it keeps on living, it is preserved but also changing with the times, or does it become a static thing that people only look at in books and in museums? It's actually a really discussed topic within history, like circles and various bits and pieces. For those who study history or those who love history like myself, it is something that is heavily discussed. Because too often or not, heritage and history can just sort of get locked away behind closed doors and like forgotten about. Let's try this one. Excellent. So that's all done. One more day and we can harvest the mushrooms. Fantastic. Okay. Wrong thing. So there we go. Let's get these mushrooms harvested. Excellent. A really good haul. And even one of the special mushrooms as well. That's fantastic, actually. having one of the special mushrooms is actually really good for us. We'll grab some more here so we get all our spore count up. Okay, quickly hop across the eye. And with some of the excess Masutaki, we can sell 3 of them for 80, which is good for us. Get our money up a bit. Go back to the kitchen, cook 1 to get our energy up so we're not wasting energy and dice on that. Throw some scrap to basically heal us up. And then do this. So the cat gets fed. Right. Need to keep chugging away at the problem. His thing has got a couple more cycles before it ticks over. A little bit of money or energy. That's the question. Let's just do some money. It's not a massive issue. There we go. Now we're out of stuff. Okay. Oh boy. Man, that's a really good hand. Okay. Keep our condition up. We've got enough money that we don't really need to worry about stuff for the minute. Though you have to remember that now we don't have supply of medicine, easily accessible medicine. So that is something we do have to take into account. Okay. He's about to be ticked over. Let's keep going, doing the jobs board. You take a handful of jobs and work through them, sharing tips and chatting with the crews. You can feel them warming to you. That's fine. Socializing with the crew. Nah. Didn't get the plus. No, we only get a plus from that. Yeah, energy and socializing, just keep it going. Probably should have not done it that way, because that's going to trigger now, which is unfortunate. I hope it's not going to be something that's going to be, oh, you should have done all the missions first. Okay. Get our condition up before we do anything else. Okay, so his story thing hasn't triggered yet, which is fantastic. Rather than go all the way across the eye, I will just throw a little bit of money at the problem. Right. So let's go back. His story thing is activated. Let's throw this in here. And assist the axis. Sleeper, Petri calls you as you cross the axis. He is standing by the same railing as you saw him last time, and he beckons you over. I've been hearing things, he gives you a side-on look. Good things, you hope? He smiles, mostly. He rubs his hands together nervously, you wait for him to speak. You know, on song I was a teacher, he glances at you, anticipating a response. Really, you say? Petrie sighs. Don't sound so surprised, he mutters. Mechanical engineering. It's an essential subject on the moon that a single mechanical failure could mean the death of hundreds. He looks to the ground. The heat, the atmosphere, the radiation, all of it is hostile to us. My students knew this. Their work, their training was respected. As long as they were careful and respected song themselves, they could have their choice of colony placements. They were always in demand. That meant I was respected, surrounded by friends and colleagues, always able to call in favours and repay them like for like. He frowns. Song colonies are small, close-knit, we look after our own. When the flux events started hitting, colonies went dark overnight. We all knew what those kinds of failures meant. Like always, we lost more people than any of the other moons. His balls, his hands, the tight fist, not a single one of my students left Song. Our future was cut off, just like that. My future, he flexes his hands. What am I out here? What use am I? Song is a fading memory, and the systems we built there are useless outside of its orbit. How am I supposed to move on from here? He looks at you, eyes steely grey and glinting. Find someone to teach, you say. Peter pauses, thinking. You don't give up, do you, Sleeper? You just keep going. Petrie shakes his head. You remind me of a student of mine, one who entered the program from one of the smaller colonies. They didn't have the advantages of some of the others, but they were stubborn as hell. By the end of the program, they were the most skilled of their peers. They didn't get the best assignments, maybe because they didn't spend much time making the kind of connections that would help them get there. But that doesn't matter, because I knew they would make the best of anything they set themselves to do. Petty is smiling now, buoyed up a little by the memory. Singers are stubborn, Sleeper. We aren't going to change easily. We won't forgive easily, or take help easily. But we'll hold strong. We can count on us. You can count on us for that. Petty stands from the railing. When you see Soul again, you can tell him that. You can tell him how the crews of Ember Song operate. Tell him we will resist. If that means resisting Half's imperialist ambitions, so be it. If it means resisting the flux, so be it. And if it means to, as you have, help others resist those same pressures, so be it. Petrie smiles, and then tell him to leave us alone. He turns, his steps lighter, and heads off towards the centre of the Axis hub. Okay. So now we have two stories in movement. Let's first go back to Peaky. Have you heard of CAN channels, Sleeper? Peaky asks you as soon as you enter the bay, as if you were in the middle of a conversation. There are heavy circles under his eyes, and you weren't sure if they've moved since you've last visited. The console they are working at seems to have grown too, shadowing their slight frame in wealth of screens and wires. CAN? You mean for transit? Yes, exactly. Peaky turns to face you. Kaomani's active navigation, the name of the effect used to transport trillions of tons of material from the surrogate systems to the core. You might have heard of it in your physics classes. At XPR, they hammered the principles into us as kids. CAN. Peaky recites definition as if in a classroom. A process of collapsing spatial casualties along the Euclidean distance between 2 points of negative mass simultaneously at both ends of a geodesic curve. Essentially, CAN channels allow for the near instantaneous transportation of raw materials between systems. They require huge volumes of energy, of course, and decades of construction, but once a CAN channel is established, it opens up a system of infinite exploration. Backbone of surrogacy is what XPR called them. Peaky shakes his head. They might not be able to send anything more complex than a rock through them. Complex machinery or people are, shall we say, reconfigured by the process, but for raw molecular pure materials, Peaky flicks a hand Whoosh. Is this your research? Peaky pauses. What I was trying to find out was whether the Helios system, this system, ever had a CAN channel. CAN channels are vastly expensive to build, to run. Not every surrogate system has one. Many use fraction drive ships to transport their materials to the nearest hub, but Solum, Peaky smiled, Solum spared no expense when they established a system. There's a CAN channel? Yep, Peaky's eyes light up. They shut it down before the collapse. They couldn't run the send of receiver station anymore, but it was there, it still is, as far as I can tell, closely orbiting our star. In fact, Peaky grins, they've been building to this. I'm sure it's still there, because one of the issues with CAN channels are the massive waves of exotic energy they can produce when cycling up. The flux, you say? Exactly. Peaky's face suddenly drops. Someone is starting up the channel. Who? Peaky sucks in his breath. That I don't know. They start counting off information on their fingers. They need a lot of resources to do it, and they need to have people from the core systems. But there's no large-scale extraction in the Helion system anymore. So what would you get? So why would you go to the trouble? Just to trigger the flux. Peaky rubs his eyes. The flux, the wave of CAN effect produces, is a side effect, a problematic one, but it isn't destructive force. If it was, the core systems would have never been able to use it. So then why are the colonies collapsing because of it? Why is it crawling through systems, the kind of industrial systems set up to function within the range of a once active CAN channel? Peaky is getting frustrated. The moons of Ember have been terraforming since before the collapse. They would have had to deal with the flux, yet everything we have heard from the refugees say it's brought down every system they had. Peaky falls quiet, thinking it all through. Your mind drifts to thinking of the CAN channels. Those vast, casual highways that prop up the core systems and their endless appetite for resources. These systems have been quiet for decades. Solheim's collapse, most corporations gave up their claims, and apart from Celia ships that came to begin work on the sidereal horizon, no one from the core has come here in all that time. You shiver at you as you imagine the attention of the core, the systems of logic and exploitation that created you, creating your suffering, turning towards the Helion system. A floodlight turned to its dark corner. A surreal bleep catches both your attention, and Peaky rushes to a screen, one showing a crude map of the station. One of its individual markers begins to flare up with insistent chirps. Peaky looks puzzled for a moment, then their face drops. No, they lean in closely. It doesn't make sense. What's happening? You snap. The flux nodes are appearing elsewhere on the station. Peaky pulls at their hair. I set this system to alert me to other flux nodes near the epicenter of the flux event, but they are elsewhere, the hub, the low end. How can this happen? The only reason we saw flux nodes here is because it is the most run-down part of the station. They were barely sealed, but others appearing so far after the event. Peaky turns to you. You are going to need to get me the data from these nodes, and quickly. I'll keep looking at what I have here, but I need to know where they are popping up elsewhere. Right now? Right now, you say. You can talk more about the CAN channels and system history when you get back, but this needs our attention right now. Peaky turns quickly to the monitor, their eyes following scrolling screens of code sprawling from the newly fluxed nodes. You leave quickly, but struggle to shake the image of the spotlight from your head. You feel what as you cross back into Pilgrim Seed, on your way to a shuttle bay. You hurry onward, eager to outrun the fear. Okay, fantastic. So everything is going to heck. So we need to basically rush back to the other side. Hopefully, our associates. One thing I'd love to have seen that I wish they haven't really done, which is sad, is I'd love to see some of your previous characters from previous encounters being brought up. because I think that would be really interesting. Sort of like your associates, your colleagues. Okay, so we got the nodes. Because like we have the AI and we have... Actually, that's a good point. How is the AI doing on top? If things are going badly... And we're going to have to re-roll. No, that's not going to help. Curses, okay. So we need to go back there at some point. That just gives us money. Okay. Let's get back to here. How many does it need? 3. Yeah, so 4. We can't do until we have all of them. Okay. When you arrive at the bridge of Pilgrim's Seed, Sol is waiting for you. You wouldn't believe the messages that have been coming through in the past few cycles, Sleeper. He smiles. The ship from the steppe has sent a goodwill gesture, a whole cache of supplies from their own farms. He smiles. I'm not sure how we'll use them, but the gesture is a welcome one. Song, meanwhile, has apparently accepted supplies again, although a little reticently, if I may say so. He smiles. I don't expect them to change anytime soon, it should be said. And what I'm wondering, Sleeper, is what part you had in all of this. Sol eyes you, waiting for your answer. I helped where I could, you said. I've come to expect that from you, Sleeper. He smiles. You look at Sol, his eyes bright and eager, and wonders where he sees what he sees in you. And are you a tool to be used or an ally? It can be hard to tell. I want to show you something. Sol squeezes your shoulder, turning you to face the lift. He leads you along the axis of the ship, towards the engines, the clanking of his suit accompanied by the constant humming and welding that fills the echoing bulkheads of the Pilgrim's Seed at all hours. With the cordon lifted and Suttles able to go out to salvage scrap and barter for supplies, the ship has become a place of transformation, moving towards some state yet to be revealed to you. You look at Sol. What is his plan here? What is he preparing the Pilgrim's Seed for? Or are his sharp eyes simply focused on making it through the next cycle? Suddenly, Sol stops in front of a huge bulkhead door, like a seal on the front of a dry dock hangar. He signals to someone in a cabin high up, attached to the wall, and begins the process of opening it up. The Pilgrim's Seed was built as a short-range freight carrier, you know. The amber warning lights on the bulkhead door send spinning shadows across Sol's face. We built it to ship the entire harvest from thousands of farms to the silos as at Pasarua. When we realised we needed to leave, it was the biggest ship we could muster. Sol's wraps on the metal plate, and somehow she carried us all the way out here. You led the evacuation? Me? He laughs. No, not even close. I'm a farmer. I had a whole load of land and people to run, and my people helped convert this place for the long trip. He looks at his feet. Others led, organised the evacuation, and debated the plans. What happened? Not one of those folks made it. Sol rubs his forehead. We were out in the black a long time before we got here, Sleeper. Things happen. The upshot is I was chosen to take over. I guess my crew trusted me and I knew the ship. I argued, reminded them I'm no leader and that I'm sick, but well, when service chooses you. A loud klaxon sounds, indicating the bulkhead doors are ready to open. They groan as I slide back, the metal squeals echoing through the vast ship, bouncing off its hard-plated walls. At first, all you see is darkness, then the lights go on, in huge strips that stretch back and back as far as you can see. The space in front of you, a vast bay, bigger than you have ever seen, is empty. When we left half, we didn't have the time or resources to convert the entire ship. Sol begins leading you into the massive space. So much of the freight space was sealed away, shut down. But now, we have the time, we have the resources. We're stabilized here, at least for the moment. Sol turns to you. Now is the time to make use of all of this. What are you planning? you say. What do you think happens next for the Eye, Sleeper? Soul sighs. The flux has already hit one part of the station. From what I know, it'll hit again. On half, we lost everything. There isn't much time, Sleeper, but there is enough to do something. Think of the number of people we can fit on here. The farming stacks, the housing. Hell, we can plant some of those mushrooms you love so much. This is the way forward, the only way. We need to fill this ship with able bodies and head for the Starwood Belt. I thought the Eye was your destination. It was until the flux hit here. Now it's just another stop. I'm glad of the chance to resupply and salvage, but we need to go further out. I want you to help me. You know the Eye, you have connections, you can work hard. I've seen it, so meet your Eye. I know you're like me, Sleeper. You don't choose to serve, it chooses you. There are other ways, you say. If you know them, go ahead, but I'll tell you this is the opportunity we have now. I know it's a lot to think about, Sleeper, trust me. His soul begins to lead you back out of the bay, but think of what we can do here. Flotilla can't last forever. We need more than just farmers to make this work. We need to build a new world for ourselves. I've heard that out there in the belt there are people who have been setting up since the collapse, making something of their own. That's our future, tucked away in those rocks, far from all of this, he sighs. I didn't bring my people here just to let them die somewhere new. Soul crosses back over the threshold of the bay and signals for the operator to close it up. Door groans and Soul waits for it to stop. Think about it, Sleeper. Soul claps you on the claps an arm on your back. But don't wait too long. This happens happening soon. And he'll leave you here, in the silence of this vast bay, your head spinning with the thoughts of leaving the Eye. So we got an upgrade point. Okay. So they basically want to basically grab some people, turn their ship into basically another colony ship, and then head into deep space. Which is fantastic and all, but there's no guarantee it's going to work. Okay. Man, this is gonna be a mess. You got some Jarrells. Right. Oh boy. So next episode we need to grab the last fragment and chuck it in to understand what's going on with the wave. And then we'll... From the sound to it, sounds like someone is basically massing around with the with basically like the mass thrower. From the sound of it, sounds like something you see in Sci-fi, which is basically like a massive like mass slingshot, where you basically put things like meteorites and comets in, and then you sort of sling it out to its. Think of it like a mass relay, basically. From the Mass Effect series, you have a pair, and one basically slingshots one thing at the other, and sort of like catching, like ball and catch game. One throws it, the other one catches it, and it sounds like someone is messing with it. And we want to see how that goes, but that's for next time, folks. Because we've only got one story thing we can do, which is studying the flux. I've been Cornish-knight, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.